好，大家好，我係香港保護兒童會譚雅士伉儷幼兒學校謝校長，好高興能夠參加今次嘅分享會。今日我同大家分享嘅題目係同創樂無窮。喺疫情嘅情況底下，小朋友都留喺屋企，減少咗外出遊玩同埋同返嚟學校同同學仔一齊遊戲嘅機會喎。咁為咗關顧小朋友嘅身心需要啦，我哋學校喺疫情限制嘅情況底下咧，都仍然會繼續去推行自由遊戲嘅，希望小朋友無論何時何地都能夠享受到遊戲嘅樂趣嘅。咁首先咧，我向大家咧介紹一下咧，點解我哋學校咧會選擇推行自由遊戲為我哋嘅發展目標啊？咁其實原因都好簡單。當我哋睇到咧幼稚園教育課程指引內容嘅時候咧，其實發現內容提及到從遊戲中學習，同我哋嘅機構嘅辦學宗旨咧係非常非常之貼近嘅。例如我哋希望小朋友能夠快樂及在多元化嘅環境底下咧嚟到去啟發潛能啦，同埋自學精神嘅。咁所以咧喺學校同教職員討論嘅情況底下咧，我哋所有嘅老師咧都一致認同咧，遊戲係最能夠配合小朋友年齡發展特徵嘅有效學習途徑嘅。咁因此咧，我哋學校咧近年都選擇咗咧做推行自由遊戲為我哋嘅發展目標嘅。好啦，咁我哋學校咧，由2018年至2019年咧開始，以推行自由遊戲為學校主要嘅發展計劃啦。我哋會因應老師培訓嘅內容啦、小朋友嘅興趣同埋能力，以及咧學校嘅資源啦，用循序漸進嘅方式嚟到去推行自由遊戲嘅喎。咁而家咧，等我簡單介紹一下咧，我哋學校每年推行自由遊戲嘅重點啊。咁咧喺2018年至2019年，我哋學校咧就參加咗教育局到校專業支援服務嘅。咁題目咧就係推行自由遊戲中學習啦。咁喺課程發展主任嘅帶領底下，我哋學校嘗試去調節咧舊有嘅自選活動嘅模式嘅，係啦。咁例如啦，我哋會將課室裏邊嘅台同埋凳咧搬開去嘅，甚至咧係唔用台凳嘅，讓到小朋友咧有更多嘅空間嚟到去進行遊戲。咁甚至喺個區域裏邊咧，我哋都唔限制咧人數嘅，係啦，俾小朋友自由去選擇遊戲啦。咁喺環境嘅創設裏邊咧，我哋老師咧都會邀請小朋友咧嚟到參與咧課室遊戲嘅環境㗎喎，係啦。咁咧就鼓勵小朋友咧去跨區去使用物料啦，跨區即係話由呢一個區域裏邊嘅物料，可以拎去另外一個區域嘅物料嗰度咧，去進行遊戲嘅。咁以擴闊咧小朋友遊戲嗰個嘅類別啦。學校咧期望調節自選活動嘅模式底下咧，可以減少咧對小朋友遊戲嗰個嘅規範嘅，讓到小朋友咧能夠因應自己嘅喜好嚟到去選擇玩具啦，去到選擇自己嘅玩伴。甚至咧係自己設計一啲嘅遊戲咧，嚟到同自己嘅同伴一齊去玩啦。咁喺遊戲嘅裏邊咧，係啦，小朋友會佢哋會互相討論啦，大家接納意見啦，大家一齊合作等等嘅，咁從而咧提升佢哋嘅社交能力啦。咁喺推行嘅遊戲嘅初期啦，小朋友咧都唔係太過肯定咧跨區嗰個嘅模式㗎喎，咁所以佢哋咧成日都會問下老師嘅，老師我可唔可以拎呢啲物料玩啊？我可唔可以同阿邊個玩啊？等等呢啲嘅問題嘅。咁我哋為咗鼓勵小朋友去突破呢一個嘅規限啦，咁每一次自選活動之後咧，老師都會分組嚟到去回饋 小朋友跨區嗰個嘅表現啦，係啦，嚟到肯定佢哋嘅行為，慢慢地咧，所有嘅小朋友咧都能夠自在咁樣去玩咧遊戲嘅。咁好啦，而家我哋咧就一齊去睇一段嘅片段，咁咧就係我哋小朋友喺課室裏邊嚟到去進行遊戲嘅。咁咧就由於影片嘅內容咧係涉及到小朋友嗰個嘅私隱啦，咁請大家咧就唔好拍攝喎，多謝大家嚇。個片段係。
呢份係咩禮物嚟㗎？
我送俾嫲嫲。
哦。
俾嫲嫲。我呢個係我個八達通，我要搭咗地鐵先可以嚟到揾嫲。
咦，你呢個八達通咁特別嘅，喺邊度整㗎？
我喺美人區度整啊。
哦，你用咗啲咩材料整㗎？
用咗呢個卡嚟整。
哦，好靚喎！你個八達通。
好，咁咧從影片裏邊咧，我哋都會睇到小朋友喺冇規範嘅模式底下咧，開始有設計遊戲嘅主意啦。咁然後咧溝通合作嚟到帶出遊戲喎。喺過程裏邊咧，我哋亦都可以發現咧一啲有潛能嘅領導者嘅喎。好啦，咁藉住1819年嘅經驗啦，咁學校喺2019至2020年咧，我哋就嘗試咧去擴闊小朋友嘅遊戲空間同埋時間喎。咁學校咧就重整咗我哋戶外大肌肉場地嘅空間啦，同埋日程嘅活動時間嘅。咁我哋命名咧呢一個地方咧為童創天地喎，咁讓到小朋友有足夠嘅空間同埋時間，能夠盡情咁去玩遊戲嘅。咁學校咧亦都採購咗唔同類型嘅大型嘅一啲嘅物料啦，同埋搜集咗一啲嘅大自然嘅物料嘅。例如紅酒箱啦、水管啦、紙箱啦，同埋一啲嘅木條嘅，咁俾住小朋友咧係可以盡情發揮佢哋嘅創意。喺玩嘅過程裏邊咧，我哋冇老師嘅示範，小朋友可以決定去玩啲乜嘢嘢啦，去點樣玩啦，同邊個一齊去玩啦。喺個觀察嘅裏邊咧，小朋友係會將跨區嘅模式咧，將唔同嘅物料嚟到作唔同嘅配合咧，嚟到一齊去使用嘅喎。咁亦會設計唔同嘅遊戲咧，同佢嘅同伴咧一齊去玩啦。咁咧，而家我哋又睇另外一個片段喎。咁呢一個嘅片段咧，就係我哋嘅童創天地裏邊小朋友去玩自由遊戲嘅情況嘅。
嚟到童創天地咯喎，咁楊老師好欣賞咧，同埋小朋友咧砌咗條路，佢咧俾粒珠咧去滾動啦，同埋咧有小朋友咧砌咗個大嘅帳篷出嚟，咁喺入邊野餐啦同埋休息喎。 師咧都好欣賞小朋友砌咗好多唔同嘅物品喎。咁咧而家呢度有個小遊戲咧，可唔可以請設計者出嚟介紹下呢個小遊戲用咗啲咩物料先？好，係幫你企嚟呢度，話俾小朋友聽用咗啲咩去砌呢個。短同埋長嘅積木，跟住咧，
加埋呢條管。
哦，加埋條管嘅，係啦。咁側邊嗰啲攞嚟做咩嘅地方？
呢啲攞嚟攔住粒磚，唔俾佢走出嚟。
係喎，如果咧拎走咗一嚿，冇咗個圍欄咧，粒磚會發生咩事先？
跌走咗。
係啊，就會碌咗出去喎。佢呢個設計好好啊，可以防止粒豬咧離開條跑道喎。好，快幫，不如你示範下點樣去玩啦，好唔好啊？
好啊。
我哋攞豬。我原來準備咗盒豬喺度，有冇方法點樣擺得好啲嘅？又好快定好慢？好，睇先。誒，當入咗落去成功到達目的地，有啲咩聲？係啦，佢設計咗個咧鐵罐喺度有聲音喎。好，唔該晒睇。
係啦，咁就從影片嘅裏邊咧，我哋都可以睇到小朋友係好享受咧去玩遊戲嘅喎。好啦，咁喺家長工作嗰方面啦，咁過去嘅2年啦，學校咧會定期咧舉行家長工作坊，讓到家長咧去了解學校推行自由遊戲嘅原因同埋好處啦。咁亦都會安排咧家長一齊去搜集一啲嘅遊戲物料啦，同埋咧都會邀請我哋嘅家長咧嚟到我哋學校裏邊咧去觀察小朋友喺學校裏邊玩自由遊戲嘅情況喎。咁另外咧就係我哋學校亦都會咧喺一啲親子節日嘅活動裏邊咧都有加入親子自由遊戲嘅環節喺裏邊嘅，咁俾家長咧同小朋友就可以一齊嚟到去參與自由遊戲啦，一齊嚟到去感受咧小朋友玩遊戲嘅過程喎。咁我哋同家長嘅溝通裏邊咧，咁家長咧都會講啦，係啦，就話啦小朋友返到屋企咧，佢哋會話喺學校最中意嘅活動咧，就係玩自由遊戲啦。咁所以咧，其實小朋友嘅表現咧，係最直接可以話俾家長知道咧，我哋推行自由遊戲嘅成效嘅。好啦，咁咧嚟到2021年喺疫情嘅情況底下，我哋面對大挑戰啦。咁今年度啦，因為疫情嘅影響，都影響咗大家嘅生活啦。家長同埋小朋友咧都長時間留喺屋企裏邊嘅。咁我哋學校咧都考慮到家長已經係參加咗2年自由遊戲嘅家長工作坊啦，咁都相信家長係會願意配合學校嚟到繼續去推行自由遊戲嘅。咁因此咧，學校就運用已有推行自由遊戲嘅經驗啦，同埋考慮到屋企裏邊已有嘅物品啦，屋企嘅活動空間啦，咁我哋就設計咗一啲嘅親子嘅遊戲嘅，咁讓到家長能夠喺疫情嘅情況底下咧，都可以同小朋友喺屋企裏邊咧係去玩遊戲嘅，咁希望都促進親子關係啦。咁我哋學校咧會透過快捷嘅流動應用程式嘅嚟到去發放呢一啲嘅親子遊戲嘅一啲嘅小點子，提供俾家長嘅，咁讓到家長咧係可以容易取得呢一個嘅資訊啦，然後咧就喺屋企裏邊去同小朋友去玩啦，咁喺輕鬆嘅氣氛底下咧，讓到家長將遊戲咧都能夠帶喺屋企嘅裏邊嘅。好啦，咁我哋亦都鼓勵到家長咧，拍攝佢哋進行親子遊戲嘅相片啦，咁並且咧將呢一啲嘅相片咧就放喺流動嘅應用程式裏邊，係啦，去同其他嘅家長啦、小朋友啦同埋老師嚟到一齊分享嘅，咁希望藉此咧就帶動大家進行親子遊戲嘅動機喎。好啦，咁呢一個咧就係我哋咧學校亦都係邀請咗咧香港教育大學幼兒學系講師 阿林佩晴博士咧嚟到咧以視像嘅形式咧，同我哋各級嘅家長啦，同埋小朋友進行一次嘅親子遊樂工作坊嘅喎。咁透過呢個工作坊咧，讓到家長知道咧點樣去就地取材去玩遊戲啦。咁鼓勵家長咧係持續喺屋企裏邊咧去同小朋友一齊去玩遊戲嘅喎。咁嗰次咧個氣氛係非常之熱鬧嘅，家長同小朋友咧都玩得好開心嘅。好啦，咁你為咗貫徹學校咧去推行自由遊戲嘅理念啦，學校咧亦都會因應小朋友嘅興趣咧，設計咗6個遊戲主題嘅喎，例如海洋啦、森林啦、太空等等嘅，亦都會按咧遊戲主題嘅內容嚟到去設計唔同，即係嚟到去揾唔同嘅物料咧，嚟到加入自由遊戲嘅嗰個小寶袋裏邊嘅。咁每個小朋友咧都會有一個嘅小寶袋啦。咁喺我哋嘅親子工作坊之後咧，都俾小朋友將呢一個嘅小寶袋帶翻屋企裏邊，讓到咧佢可以同爸爸媽媽就一齊去玩遊戲嘅。咁呢一個嘅小寶袋咧係我哋亦都鼓勵咧，除咗呢個小寶袋裏邊嘅物料咧，咁佢都可以配合埋屋企裏邊有嘅其他嘅物料嚟到一齊去創設遊戲嘅。好啦，咁呢一個咧就係咧以海洋世界為一個嘅遊戲主題嘅。咁小朋友咧係利用學校提供嘅布料啦，喺屋企裏邊，佢同佢哋嘅家長咧嚟到一齊去設計一件獨一無二嘅服飾啦，然後就化身成為一個小魚仙，就一齊進入遊戲嘅世界裏邊喎。咁小朋友咧可以運用咧唔同嘅物料嚟到去創設遊戲啦，並且係透過視像裏邊咧係同同學仔咧一齊去分享啦，同埋示範一啲嘅佢自己創作嗰個遊戲嘅玩法啦。咁大家係有互動嘅情況噶喎，佢哋都玩得好開心嘅。好啦，咁呢個咧就係以森林為主題嘅一個遊戲嚟嘅。咁小朋友咧就化身成為咧小野人喎，咁就係進入森林裏邊咧去進行遊戲啦。咁除咗學校提供嘅物料之外咧，其實小朋友喺屋企裏邊咧都可以揾一啲唔同嘅物料加入遊戲嘅裏邊嘅。咁我哋嘅遊戲咧係唔受任何嘅物料嘅限制嘅。好啦，總括咧以上嘅分享啦，咁其實喺疫情嘅期間，學校係唔需要花太多嘅時間物料嚟到去推行自由遊戲嘅喎。咁學校咧只需要運用已有嘅經驗啦，考慮到小朋友遊戲嘅空間啦、家長嘅配合程度啦，同埋屋企裏邊有嘅物料啦、小朋友嘅興趣嚟到去調節遊戲嘅模式。咁最重要咧係指需要記住遊戲咧係小朋友自行決定嘅，係小朋友自己去主導嘅，同埋係可以自由發揮嘅。咁成人咧係唔應該有任何嘅既定嘅學習目標喺裏邊咯。咁只需要着重遊戲嘅過程同埋樂趣就可以㗎啦。咁咧，今日我嘅分享係咁多，多謝大家。
Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I'm just in the process of setting up. As Annika just said, what we're going to be focusing on this morning is really the values of interactive play during distance learning. So just a little bit about myself. I'm an early years teacher. I've been in Hong Kong now for nearly 14 years. Worked at a few different organizations, all of which follow the IB, the International Baccalaureate Curriculum Framework. So obviously I teach early years children at present. I'm working with K2s And obviously we implement the primary years program. As you can see here, there's my two little boys, one of which attends my school. He's in K1 right now. My other one is nearly 12 months old. Like I said, obviously I've always, ever since I was probably my son's age, I've always had a passion for being a teacher, even when I was that young. And obviously it came true. So I started my training in the UK. I obviously then, I've worked with children of special needs. I've worked with children overseas, and obviously then I came to Hong Kong. And really my journey has continued since being here. I've done my master's, and my research was all about the relevance of inquiry-based learning in the early years. My professional interests, really, they continue. I'm always interested in reading and finding out more information about the early years, and obviously how I can improve my practice as well. So I look forward to sharing this presentation today. Really, I just wanted to start off with this. It's always very important. I think your image of the child is where teaching actually begins. And I will read this out loud. Obviously, you can read it yourselves as well, but there are hundreds of different images of the child. Each one of you has inside yourself an image of the child that directs you as you begin to relate to a child. And this theory within you pushes you to behave in certain ways. It orients you as you talk to the child, listen to the child, observe the child. It's very difficult for you to act contrary to this internal image. Now, obviously, as was mentioned earlier, we've all been delivering our education online. We've been doing Zoom sessions really for the past 12 months, with some opportunities for our children to come into school. So I feel realistically the image that we have of children when we see them in person can quite often be very different to when we meet them online. For example, this year, I met my K2 children for the first time online. And obviously I didn't actually get to see them in person, or I won't actually get to see them in person until we return after the Chinese New Year break. So I think it's very hard for us to really get a true image of the child when we're delivering sessions on Zoom, but we obviously as professionals, we try our best. So really, I want to focus on the value of play. We as early years practitioners, we all know that children learn through play, and during the current pandemic, we really need to support its development as effectively as possible in order to enhance our children's learning. This is my little boy at home. Obviously, you can see he's been at home like everybody else for quite some time. But here he is. He decided he wanted to go on a journey. But he was the one driving. So here he is with his bus, and then here are the passengers on top. So there he was using his imagination and really carrying on an amazing journey. And I move forward now. Obviously, I have photographs here. This is myself delivering a session online, because every 6 to 8 weeks, we send out a resource pack to our children. So obviously, we want to develop their skills as best as possible. So the top session you can see there is me leading a breakout session where we were really just reflecting on our previous unit of inquiry, which was all about designing and creating. So the children were reflecting on their knowledge of how they could go about designing something, and then using the clay that we provided. They were then using their skills, their creativity, all of their different skills to follow what they had designed and create in person. And this was one of our Zooms just after the Christmas holidays. And obviously I'm speaking also not only as an educator, but as a parent. You can see at the bottom here is my son. He is also in the process of having a Zoom session with his teacher. And it just shows really that obviously teaching and play can still continue when we are delivering it online as best as possible. But one question I have for everybody is really, how have social distancing measures and other COVID restrictions changed our teaching and learning environments? And I have actually set up a Padlet, and if I can possibly just share the link later on, rather, I haven't put it in. If I could share that link in the chat, or whether Annika, if you're able to do that, then feel free. Obviously, you can access that and put your thoughts. It would be really beneficial to be able to possibly touch base later and have a look at some people's thoughts over how it's had an impact on everybody. Oh, I have a hitch, sorry. Let's move on. So continuing social interaction and engaging with peers is obviously of vital importance for our children's holistic development. And like was mentioned earlier, obviously there've been a lot of restrictions here in Hong Kong, but at the same time, not as many restrictions as there have been in other parts of the world. However, I feel during the pandemic, it can still be achieved we can still obviously continue that social interaction and engagement through different forms of exposure. So obviously being outdoors has been quite hard. Playgrounds have been closed, but obviously there's parks, there's still walks and things, as long as we are keeping our social distancing. As long as we're being safe, then obviously it's possible. Being outdoors obviously enables our children to make use of their senses. Sorry, I'll just pause for a minute. Okay. So being outdoors obviously enables children to make use of their senses whilst they're exploring the natural environment. Here you can see my son with one of his friends. We took a walk around the peak. We did the morning trail because one of the things that he wanted to find in preparation for his sessions the following week on Zoom, because he too is learning all about sharing the planet and the values of nature and living and non-living things. They were going on a walk, collecting some leaves, collecting twigs, really just exploring the natural environment, making use of his senses. He loved going up and smelling the trees, and obviously that conversation that was flowing between him and his friend that he's holding hands with here. And also, as they were collecting leaves, they were also collecting the twigs, the branches, and then we walked along just by a fence. And once again, their imagination, their creativity was inspired because they decided to make some sounds. So as they were walking along, they were just banging their twigs, they were moving them along, and then they started singing some songs. So I think just being outdoors, it really does help children develop in so many different ways. Secondly, obviously playing games. Playing games really boosts children's social skills, their problem solving, their communication through thinking, sharing, turn taking. Right now, this photograph I'm just sharing with you, we had a game of Pictionary. So again, in our breakout sessions, really to get the children's thinking, to get their communication skills, and obviously that whole turn taking. We had a game of Pictionary, and obviously each child was spotlighted, taking turns. And again, it was relating to our unit, which was tuning into the sharing the planet and about living things, animals, because our next focus was going to be to move on to form habitats for those animals. So this little girl here, she's in the process of drawing, and obviously there's lots of communication, there's lots of questions. Oh, I can see some ears. Is it a dog? No, it wasn't a dog. Okay, we'll let the child continue to draw. And at the end, obviously, one of our children guessed, yes, it's Pictionary. Of course, you're drawing a rabbit. So there was so much communication, so much thinking behind there. And obviously, again, playing games. This is my son with our helper at home. He doesn't always have friends over to play with, but he's always got our Yaya at home to take care of him. And here they are, again, developing his sharing, turn-taking skills, playing the Incy Wincy Spider game. There's so much stimulation there. It's all about, like I say, sharing, turn taking, and here he's developing his knowledge and understanding of counting, because it's all about rolling a dice. And obviously, again, using the shapes and being able to really know that you don't always win a game, even at the age of 3. Sometimes you do lose. Obviously, moving on, interacting with different forms of sensory play, it stimulates children's language development, cognitive growth, their fine and their gross motor skills, their problem solving and social interaction. And again, following on from our walk that we went on, the photograph that you saw earlier, my little boy, and well, actually both of them here, were very interested in some of the materials that we found. And you can see that they are engaging with the leaves, the twigs, the sticks, and using their creativity to form a habitat. And you can see there, we've got obviously an elephant. This was actually a jungle that Moses was creating. He's got his elephant, his tiger, quite where the panda comes into it, I don't know, because obviously they don't really live in the jungle. But again, it's all about the imagination that flows. And secondly, you can see here, one of the things that our children were provided with before Christmas in connection to obviously the winter time was some snow. So here he is during one of his Zoom sessions, making his snow, really using his senses. No other materials were needed for that session. Obviously, yes, to extend the children's learning, you could ask them to add some materials from home, but this was really just purely to get the children's minds thinking and really to get their senses working just with the material that they were actually engaging with. And obviously promoting the importance of free play and finding time for this during children's daily routine gives them a sense of balance and connection. So I'm relating now as a teacher. Obviously, we have a Zoom session every day. Our Zooms normally last about an hour. Again, obviously, it's a whole class, it's breakout rooms. But then obviously we want the children once the children have finished, obviously, once the children have finished their sessions, we want them to obviously have some screen-free time. So if they were in school, we would be obviously having our open play time where the children can go outside for an hour, or they can engage in different areas inside. That's not possible at this current time because obviously the children are delivering or being taught online. So enabling that free play afterwards is always very important, because obviously we all know play enhances so many skills as it stimulates children's exploration, imagination, and independence. Again, this is obviously a snapshot of my two boys. It looks quite messy, but there's so much creativity, there's so much imagination and play going on here. They were forming a city. So yes, there's the railways, and then there's the airport. There's the whole city that Moses and my little boy are trying to obviously develop together. And that's what I say. I think it's just so important that we really continue to really enhance and stimulate children as much as possible. And obviously, yes, it's very hard when you're online delivering sessions on Zoom, but at the same time, they also need that freedom. They also need that time to think outside the box, not to be following those instructions, to really have that time to stimulate themselves in many different ways. And I think the one thing that is really important here, as we all know, that play is not meant to just be educational. Rather, education flows naturally into the environment of a child at play. And this is taken from a lady called Alexan, who basically, she blogs all the time. I don't know whether people have heard of her, but she's a very good blogger. She's always sharing her knowledge and understanding of play-based learning. So I just want to say, obviously, thank you to everybody. Thank you for your time today. And obviously, if we have time to go back to the presentation, to what I was sharing, the questions, we will go back to that later.
Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sue Hong from Singapore. I've been with the early childhood field for many decades. I'm very honored that today I'm invited to share on this platform. Before I start, I just want to wish everyone a happy Lunar New Year. Yeah, 恭喜發財，新年快樂. Yeah. Okay. We realize that the impact of the pandemic has been very great on everyone's lives, especially on young children. And what has been happening, perhaps not just in Singapore and Hong Kong, but all over the world, is that many of us were at some point of time confined to small spaces, especially at home. There was a few months last year that our children, in fact, all of us, we could not go outdoors at all, and they couldn't go to school. And it's really tough on the little children. I understand in Hong Kong now too, the children are not going to school, and there's lots of online learning, like what Mrs. Rebecca Smith has shared, and also our principal from the kindergarten. The lifestyle has been very sedentary, lots of sit-down work and all going on. And like in Singapore, the living spaces are really, really small. And we find that the play space and the rest space in the home, it's the same space. I have a little incident here. It's my brother and his little girl at home. Yeah, and she does not have a separate place on the bed while the father is trying to rest because they work from home. So it's been really, really tough. And of course, parents work from home, and children's play, they imitate the parents. Yeah. So you notice that even their behavior is like the parents trying to work and to keep telling the children, don't disturb me. And the children's play is also reflected. So we're trying to look at how can we provide a more balanced and healthy lifestyle, especially for the children. Yeah. And why is it so important that we want to develop locomotor skills in children, fundamental movement skills? It's because everything that we do, the physical body, like walking, climbing the stairs and all that, all these you need fundamental movement skills. And we can match the two, play and movement. They are really, really very, very important for the holistic development of children. And we want to encourage children to grow up to be active and healthy throughout their lives. So what are these skills, and why are they so important? Again, I want to reinforce your daily movements like climbing the stairs, running around, playing games and all that. They actually involve three fundamental movement skills. If you look at the right of the slide, there is locomotor skills, object control skills, as well as stability. Take, for example, you play soccer. Locomotor skills means you have to be running, turning, jumping. Object control, if you're dribbling the ball, you're heading the ball. Stability, you have to be able to have great balance so that you don't fall as you turn and run. And these are performed using all parts of your body, your head, your torso, your arms, your legs. Yeah. So I would like to highlight to you the source that's indicated here. There's a publication by the Singapore Sports Council called Fun Start Move Smart. If you Google this document, you get the full document. They explain to you what fundamental movement skills are. They give examples of activities. They also explain the developmental stages, and it's useful for preschool teachers as well as for parents. So please tap on this source. Yeah, here's the example, Fun Start Move Smart. Please do go and look for this document. But today, I won't be able to cover all the fundamental skills. Like, I will only focus on locomotor skills. And these include 8 basic skills: walking, running, leaping, jumping, sliding, galloping, hopping, and skipping. Sometimes we mix leaping and jumping, or we mix sliding and galloping. So I hope maybe perhaps today you get a little bit of clearer differentiation amongst these skills. All right. On the right of every slide from now are examples that's taken from the Fun Start Move Smart resource. So please do go in and look for the details. There are many more ideas. What I've done is just to give you an example of a home-based setup, looking at the various locomotor skills. Even simple skills like walking, you can be walking. Everyone walks, of course, you know, from the time the babies get to stand up and all. But how can you walk in a more efficient way? So you want to be able to walk in a steady manner. You want to walk so that you don't drag your feet, shuffle. So we pay a little bit of attention. And this is a video you will see. It's set up in a very small, confined home space. And these are like containers from New Year goodies that we finished. You put it up and put masking tape on the floor. And you can let the child, let's say if the child is dragging the feet, you can pay attention to walking in a steady and manner, learning to lift his feet. Yeah, here's an example. I've used egg cartons. Those are not real eggs, they're plastic eggs. So they play a game of being very quiet and steady, like the little cat trying to escape. So make it as a game for the child, so it doesn't look like you are training her to walk. All right, so this is just one example of walking. Yeah. The second locomotor skill is running. We notice children can run very well, yeah, and very quickly. So this is running in a straight line. But if you notice her arms, she's swinging outwards. Yeah, she's still able to run straight. But perhaps in future, you want to pay attention to running in a more efficient manner, is keeping the arms closer to the body and swinging it alternately. So these are little things, subtle tips that you can pay attention to. We don't correct the child, say that you should not run this way, you should run this way. But when you do run, do model the right actions. And the other thing is, if the child is not able to control the way they run very well, you want to, again, with the same props, running and changing direction. Yeah, so you notice that her arms are closer to her body. So these are little games that you can play at home or even in a small confined classroom space. And you'll be surprised, it looks very simple, but the child actually ran up and down like 20 times. Yeah. Okay. The next locomotor skill is leaping. What's the difference between leaping and jumping? Leaping is to lift yourself and go across one leg followed by the other leg. Vis-a-vis, jumping is both feet together. So the leaping is one foot first, lift off, and then the other foot follows. And if the child lacks confidence to clear a white space, you can play games like setting. I use shoelaces here. Can you see? And I just have some stuffed toys in the home, fish, and then there's the shark. So how can you leap across so that you don't get bitten by the fish or the shark? And also here is an example. This is not planned, but it's just a daily walk. And then they found an ant's trail. Okay, so what happens here is that you notice the parent uses the term jump, but the child actually leaped over. So sometimes as adults, we also need to be able to differentiate the vocabulary that we use with the child. And what the parent did was actually provided verbal prompt or verbal cue. Go across the line, jump over, or if you can say leap over. Yeah, he may say jump, but the child then leaps over, and when she comes back, he can say, oh, you leaped over the ant's trail. So we also want to use the more appropriate vocabulary. And you notice she was pleading, no, come with me, I don't want to. Tell the child, you can encourage, please try, and the child actually tried. So that's an example. Okay. The next locomotor skill is jumping, but actually there are different forms of jumping. So here there are three types. First type is jumping for height. How high can you jump? Yeah. And whether the child can reach a target or something. Yeah. So we play a game of can you steal the handkerchief, or you can use a towel, whatever you can find at home. I didn't have to buy anything for all these activities in the home. So here she is being able to bend the knees before she jumps and stretch the arms so that she can steal the handkerchief. Yeah. You see how happy she is being able to steal the handkerchief. Yeah. And it can just be parent enjoying pop music at home and then letting the child jump for joy. Yeah. You can hear the music. Some of you might recognize the pop song. The parents enjoy Xiao Jingteng's music and then just let her jump for joy. So it can be very, very simple locomotor activity that you can do at home. Oops. Yeah. We also jump for distance. How far can you jump? Not just how high you can jump. And we start with something that's not so difficult. I use, again, shoelaces that you can put around. You don't have to buy hula hoops and all, which, can cost money and occupy space. So shoelaces are really easy to put away. So here, jumping means lifting both feet together and landing both feet together. And here's a little bit more challenging. The buckets, yeah. So find things that you have at home of different heights, and then you can arrange it and let the child practice. So you see the difference between leaping and jumping. Okay. We also jump off a height, meaning from a higher space, jump off and then land. Yeah. So again, focus on the target, jump off with bent knees, and then reach out and catch. Yeah. So if you, what we've done is to stand a little bit further each time and a little bit higher to hold the handkerchief, so the child then practices. And outdoors, there are also many opportunities that you can find that the child can practice jumping both feet. This is when she was about 3 months earlier. Yeah. So you see, she's not as agile as just now the other one when she's about 3 months older. Okay. You see that wearing the right shoes make a difference as well. Here her sandals are a little bit big for her, so it does affect her balance. But it's pretty good walking on the ledge. So if you are downstairs, in Singapore, we all have to wear masks when we are outdoors. It's compulsory. Yeah. Okay, there you go. All right. Okay, and she happily runs off. Yeah, walks off. Okay. Okay. The next locomotor skill is sliding. I think it's a little bit difficult at first, so it's good that if the adult can play with the child. What you do is step and then together, step together. These are what we call verbal cues. One foot takes a step, and then we did a slow motion with her first before we play a dancing game with her. Okay, there you go. Play a song, O Susanna, and then just dance with her. Yeah, she made my sister go up and down like 20 times. We think that, oh, up and down, that's all, but they really, the child enjoys it very, very much. Yeah. So this is something that you can do as well, sliding, going sideways. The next one is, hang on a minute. Okay, right, galloping like a horse. It's similar to sliding, except this is facing forward. Sliding is going sideways. And again, the parent, they like pop songs and the girl likes it. Gangnam song. Just give the child a stick to imagine you're riding the horse, chasing after the bad guys. Yeah. So it doesn't always have to be children's songs. It can be just songs that they listen to, the parents enjoy and the child enjoys it with the parent. Yeah. So that's galloping. And then next one is hopping. Hopping is going on one foot. Yeah, lifting off one foot and landing on one foot. When they start off, they may not be able to balance so well. You can either hold a wall and hop. If not, again, make it a game, partner and adult. Yeah, and to do this, the small little hallway or corridor that you have can be a fun space as well. And when the child is more confident, then she can do it alone. And she's giggling throughout as she goes up and down 20 times. My poor sister was so exhausted. So, okay. All right, hopping. And then skipping. That's me, the old auntie, trying and just sing a song with her again. They enjoy the adults' company, so I encourage the parents or whoever the caregiver is. The child, it looks like she's able to do, you can let go. Yeah, I'm out of breath. It's like the 25th time I was doing with her. And when you go out, she's happy. She starts to skip. There you go. So it's not a training per se kind of skills that children learn, but to do in a fun manner and in a natural manner. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm almost done. Again, I want to highlight, please go to this source, Fun Start Move Smart. It's a very useful document. All our preschool teachers get it. It's online, it's free of charge. So go and look at it. Parents can use it, teachers can use it. So today I only touched the tip of the iceberg, which is locomotor skills. There's also object control. There's also stability skills. So please do go ahead and run through the publication. All right. Thank you, everyone. And please stay healthy and happy. Yeah, that's the end. Thank you.
好，大家睇唔睇到個畫面啊？OK，好。 好，咁咧今日咧，我想同大家 share 下咧，其實喺疫情下面，我哋點樣可以將遊戲帶到俾小朋友？因為咧，我個題目咧，定係一個叫做實驗嘅旅程啊。因為咧，好多唔知，好多唔肯定，其實我哋都喺度試下係咪 work 嘅。咁我哋都問自己，係咪所有嘢都要喺網上面進行咧？因為即係有好多嘅argument，大家都講緊小朋友應唔應該有咁多時間咧去接觸一啲網上嘅嘢。咁我哋今日我好想藉住今日咧 share 俾大家聽下，我哋點樣喺一個限制裏面咧係可以令到小朋友都可以無限咁樣玩嘅。咁我哋機構咧其實就係一個倡導翻小朋友有玩嘅權利嘅機構啦。咁我哋希望咧每一個小朋友嘅童年咧都係可以享受到遊戲。我哋希望咧係可以做到喺疫情期間咧全方位咁樣支援到小朋友，包括咧係唔同群體嘅小朋友啦，由好細個到甚至係一啲特殊需要嘅小朋友，或者係一啲病童，同埋咧喺疫情下面咧，其實見到好多一啲我哋叫 disadvantage 嘅小朋友咧，其實佢嘅需要咧更加突顯咗，咁所以係唔同嘅對象啦，同埋咧更加需要嘅咧就係佢身邊嘅人。包括咧係佢嘅照顧者，唔單止父母，可能係爺爺嫲嫲，或者係工人，或者係佢旁邊嘅老師啦，或者團體啦，或者公眾咧，其實點樣我哋可以透過呢啲唔同嘅人咧，可以支援到小朋友玩。仲有一個 variable 咧，就係你發覺喺唔同嘅情況之下咧，其實佢需要玩嘅嘢都唔同。有啲時候係 keep 喺屋企玩。去到一啲 transition 嘅時間咧，可能可以暫時出下街玩。去到一個 new normal， 其實又係可以點樣令到玩發生咧？咁我哋係個題目叫做實驗咧，就係因為不停係周旋喺唔同嘅時間啦、唔同嘅對象啦，同埋唔同身邊嘅人咧，點樣可以支援到小朋友？咁所以咧，跟住落嚟咧，我就好似一個時序咁樣咧，同大家分享下喺唔同嘅時間咧，我哋點樣做啦。咁第一波同第二波咧，講緊就係應該大概2月嘅時候啦，大家嗰時都覺得好突然啊。咁當學校係需要停課嘅時候咧，停到幾時大家都唔知。咁開始咧，我哋睇下啲小朋友嘅需要喺邊度咧。有啲小朋友咧就話好悶啊，有啲小朋友咧就話我好唔捨得我哋啲即係老師。我聽過有個特殊需要小朋友嘅嘅老師咧就講，佢話其實咧平日特殊需要嘅小朋友咧係好中意睇電視嘅，佢哋直情悶到嘔咧，喺屋企悶到嘔到一個程度咧，佢自己睇下就去熄電視。咁咧返學校咧見到其他嘅老師咧就拖住佢隻手唔肯放，咁同以前嘅表現好唔同，所以可想而知嗰個小朋友係個需要好大，同埋咧出去遊樂場又唔玩得啦。咁見過有啲相咧，就係個小朋友圍住個遊樂場，拉住嗰條紅白或者藍白繩咧，好似好想衝入去玩咁樣。呢啲咧我哋好睇到喺疫情期間咧小朋友嘅需要。好，咁所以咧我哋見到佢冇社交啦，隔絕咗啦，遊樂場關閉啦。其實有啲小朋友係好驚感染嘅。有啲小朋友咧，亦都唔知將來係點樣，有啲咧都擔心媽媽冇公開，我會唔會好窮冇飯食㗎咁？所以你睇到一啲嘅研究調查報告咧，都睇返呢啲係小朋友嗰個，無論係精神啊、生活啊、心理啊，都有好大嘅影響嘅。咁所以我哋嗰時1月尾開始咧就做一啲嘢啦，就係我哋諗我哋可唔可以咧拍一啲 video， 令到家長識得用一啲屋企嘅物資嚟玩，然後擺上 Facebook。咁無論係家長睇到啊，佢嘅照顧者睇到啊，甚至係可能老師睇到咧，咁可以大家刺激下，其實喺屋企咧都有啲嘢玩到。咁我哋總共拍咗78條片咧，就俾大家欣賞下先。 我哋拍咗78條片咧，就令到多啲人可以 inspire 到大家，可以諗下屋企有啲咩玩法。咁咧，但係咧，我哋又發覺有一個問題係咩咧？另外咧，小朋友咧又好擔心受感染啊嘛。咁我哋咧其實應該俾多啲 information，小朋友知道其實而家發生緊咩事啦，或者佢可以做啲咩咧，係防止自己受到感染。咁所以咧，我哋就做咗一啲洗手歌，又或者咧係一啲玩嘅 playpad 咧，令到小朋友咧知多啲發生緊咩事嘅。咁我哋可以聽少少咧嗰首同事自創嘅洗手歌。
洗手洗手，點樣洗先足夠？小朋友，我哋一齊開水喉，濕濕手，擠啲梘液，睇下邊個捽到最多泡嚕。洗手洗手，咁樣洗先足夠。手掌、手背、手指啦。
information 咧就話俾大家聽，其實病毒係啲咩嚟嘅？
前傳，娃娃係一個活潑好動嘅小女孩。佢好中意做運動。
咁我一陣間咧會send 翻條 link 俾大家睇下喺邊度可以攞到呢啲資源嘅。不過咧，我哋經歷咗嗰個1、2月嗰個時間，做咗一啲嘢之後咧，我哋發覺其實我哋太過依賴啲家長。其實啲家長咧喺呢個時候咧，佢自己都好大壓力。其實佢連同小朋友玩嘅動力都冇，所以我哋話啲家長咧，其實同小朋友咧喺屋企困獸鬥。咁我哋擺咁多嘢上網，其實一定要經過啲家長先去到小朋友嗰度。我哋就諗點樣可以令到小朋友可以直接玩到咧？於是咧就開始咧喺大概3月頭啊，我哋出咗第一代嘅叫做 Playbox 遊戲盒啦。但係一陣間就同大家分享下點解會咁多代咧？我哋其實而家已經出到去第5代咧，就喺個過程裏面，我哋發現每一代都有啲嘢需要改良嘅。咁我哋嗰次咧就做咗1000個 Playbox 啦，送咗去800間幼稚園同埋200間社福機構咧，就希望透過佢哋咧就派翻俾佢哋嘅小朋友嘅。咁呢啲 Playbox 嘅特性係咩咧？第一咧就係用 loose card 令到小朋友咧可以自創玩法。第二咧佢係可以 mix and match 咧，就加埋我哋之前擺咗喺 Facebook 嘅一啲play idea 咧，咁佢就可以自己去刺激佢有更加多唔同嘅玩法啦。第三咧就係我哋希望連嗰盒係啦，連嗰個包裝同埋個盒都可以玩到，同埋可以帶到周圍去嘅。咁所以咧呢個係其中一個咧，就係我哋擺咗啲 make do 啦，佢可以我哋 cut 啦，佢可以自己呢個都幾創意嘅，自己扮電話啊。而家消毒用品最多㗎啦，佢用埋啲消毒用品嘅包裝啊，佢當畫畫啊，當磁石用啊。係啦，咁好多唔同嘅玩法咧，係希望小朋友自己可以諗一啲方法出嚟玩嘅。咁點解又有第2代嘅遊戲盒咧？跟住我哋又發現喎，原來咧，如果家長唔明白呢啲理念嘅話咧，其實佢見到小朋友玩，譬如佢玩屋企嘅廁紙筒咁樣，咁我家長就覺得哇，你玩啲咁污糟嘅嘢嘅，甚至有啲家長咧係將佢遊戲盒裡面嗰啲物資咧攞咗嚟自己用喎。譬如佢有塊布呢個家長攞咗嚟自己抹嘢，咁所以我哋發覺咧個家長能夠明白同埋知道咧係好緊要嘅。於是我哋出咗第2個遊戲盒啦，而今次咧我哋個對象再多啲啦，唔單止係幼稚園，我哋去埋特殊幼兒中心，同埋去到病童同埋公眾咧都可以拎得到。咁你見到我哋咧係同好多唔同嘅機構一齊合作咧，就令到啲機構可以派到去嘅。咁呢度有幾款㗎，有特殊需要嘅小朋友嘅款式啦，有小學嘅款式啦，同埋有俾幼兒嘅款式嘅。咁點樣可以盡用到嗰個遊戲盒咧？第一，我哋發覺咧就係要有老師嘅培訓啦，因為咧老師喺個時間空間上面咧係叫做比較性啊，有時間空間咧係可以 facilitate 到小朋友玩多啲。咁所以我哋咧做 Playbox 嘅時候咧，其實我哋會有埋個老師嘅培訓啦，跟住我哋有家長嘅 tips 啦。附埋，然後咧，我哋希望咧，老師或者社工派發嘅時候咧，佢可以有啲 briefing 嘅。咁我哋自己咧都做咗一啲video 咧，就係令到家長可以直接睇到嗰個玩法。咁有小學版嘅 video，有幼稚園版嘅 video，同埋有特殊需要小朋友嘅 video。咁小學版同幼稚園版咧，其實小朋友都可以自己睇。 咁特殊需要嘅版咧，其實某程度上都要家長睇完咧，就再去同小朋友玩。咁有一句咧，我覺得都幾精警嘅咧，就係大家可以睇下中間呢一個位啦。
工具啊，我哋一齊睇下入。家長唔好當咗入邊嘅物資係訓練工具啊。
係啦，個問題係咩咧？如果俾一啲特殊需要小朋友嘅家長咧，佢任何嘢揸喺手咧都可以係訓練嘅工具㗎。咁所以我哋特登刻意都提醒翻家長，其實玩咧就係為咗玩，就唔係一啲訓練嘅時間。
好開心。
好，咁去到3至5月份咧，咁咧大家記得咧係有少少翻學嘅時間嘅。係咁應該差唔多5月份。咁頭先咧，我哋講係做咗一啲遊戲盒咧，特別係去咗一啲我哋叫做比較貧乏嘅小朋友啦。咁咧，我哋咧都發現可能有啲家長咧，佢有個空間，咁特別係可能一啲比較中產嘅家長，咁當佢有空間嘅時候咧，其實佢都可以有個角色咧去 facilitate 小朋友玩多啲。於是咧，我哋出咗一啲家長嘅資源，包括有好玩實用指南，就一啲可以網上面免費 download 嘅書啦，同埋咧繼續出緊一啲遊戲點子嘅影片嘅，咁有用文具啦，或者用一啲普通嘅屋企物資都可以玩得到嘅。但係咧問題又嚟啦，去到第3波，大家 on and off 咧，見到有時返得學，有時唔返得學啦。咁咧，你發現一樣嘢咧，就係開始啲小朋友嘅暑假要提早咯喎。咁發生緊咩事咧？當小朋友提早嘅時候咧，即係又開始喺屋企好悶啦，係咪？咁於是咧，我哋嗰時就因為我哋用咗一段好長嘅時間諗緊用唔用 Zoom 好嘅。咁我哋見到唔得啦，因為呢段時間咧，小朋友實在嗰個 social distancing 太耐啊，其實佢咧好想見其他小朋友嘅。於是咧，我哋開始咧做緊一啲 Zoom 嘅 session 咧，就係講緊點樣令到家長可以知多啲 play idea， 知多啲 play skill， 然後咧佢直接咧係可以喺個網上面問到關於點樣同小朋友玩嘅嘢嘅。咁所以咧就開始出咗一啲 Zoom session 咧，暫時試下俾下家長先啊，俾下家長。好，咁另外咧喺嗰段時間咧，我哋又諗，其實我哋自己做咧，可能都 reach out 唔到好多人。我哋可唔可以咧動員到多啲人一齊做，令到多啲小朋友可以 benefit 到咧？於是咧，我哋將我哋以往嘅經驗咧，就搞咗一啲 sharing section 咧，就同大家分享啦。包括咧，我哋就同大家分享我哋點做 Playbox 啦。我哋咧又同大家分享咧，我哋點樣做一啲好小型嘅遊戲活動喺出邊嘅，同埋我哋又同大家分享點樣可以用呢個好玩實用指南，同埋一啲網上嘅影片咧，可以同小朋友玩到。咁我哋總共搞咗4次咧，就有唔同嘅 NGO 啦、老師啦同埋社工咧都有派代表出席嘅。咁去到呢個時間啦，咁好似去到9至11月咧，個疫情就慢慢緩和咧，小朋友可以出街玩少少。於是咧，我哋又開始攝位啦。我哋咧就攝，我哋喺中西區咧有一個叫做遊戲到家嘅位置咧。咁我哋將嗰度咧裝修到直情好似喺屋企咁樣嘅樣啊。咁所以咧，你發覺咧呢個似一個客廳。咁我哋就喺呢個客廳裏面咧示範，同埋我哋俾好少部分嘅家庭咧試下嚟參加。咁你見到啦，同一時間咧1、2個家庭嘅啫。咁咧，然後咧佢哋咧就係櫃可以點玩啊，個地下可以點玩啊，喺唔同嘅空間可以點玩咧。希望佢哋咧可以經驗到之後咧，可以將呢啲 idea 咧帶到翻屋企嘅。咁我哋亦都咧有同中西區嘅民政事務處咧一齊做緊一啲好小型嘅室內遊戲活動。我哋以前嗰啲活動咧係人頭湧湧嘅，而家你開始發覺少人啲，仲要咧特登鋪晒一張嘢咧，就係每一個位置咧只可以俾4個小朋友參加嘅啫。咁其實咧都幾感動嘅咧，就係其實一開始嘅時候有好多小朋友咧望見其他小朋友係好驚嘅，因為我估佢哋太耐冇見過其他小朋友，咁又慢慢驚咧，佢哋又慢慢開始一齊玩，咁所以我哋就攝啦。之前既然喺屋企玩到，而家咧喺社區玩到，可唔可以做多少少嘢咧？等小朋友可以出嚟玩多啲咧？於是咧，我哋衍生咗第3代嘅遊戲盒啦。咁第3代嘅遊戲盒咧，就裏面開始有啲物資咧係小朋友可以出街玩，因為嗰時其實唔知有第4波咧，以為都幾好嘅。11月嗰啲時間咧，好似得得地咁樣噶嘛。 咁於是咧就遊戲盒咧就變咗咧可以去到一啲出街嘅地方玩啦，同埋咧開始做一啲 Zoom session 啦。我哋終於咧要放低我哋條底線咧，就因為我哋發覺，原來小朋友咧真係好恨見其他小朋友。咁成個呢個 project 咧，除咗佢係第3代之外咧，其實咧係刻意咧就係同3個唔同嘅 NGO 一齊去做嘅，就係我哋發覺小朋友除咗有玩嘅需要啦，佢有食物嘅需要啦，其實咧都有運動嘅需要。咁所以我哋同另外3個唔同嘅 NGO 咧係去咗東涌一個貧乏嘅地區啦，咁透過3方面唔同嘅介入咧，令到小朋友喺疫情下面咧都係可以有翻一個 normal 嘅生活嘅。好，咁去到跟住去到意想不到啊！11月開始咧，我諗第4波咧係比之前任何一波咧都嚴重嘅。好啦，咁我哋除咗做翻之前我哋繼續做嘅嘢之外咧，我哋開始咧就搞一啲叫做親子遊戲實踐課啦。即係話咧，唔單止係個小朋友一齊玩啦，個家長一齊玩，其實透過咁樣一齊玩咧，家長都可以舒緩到一啲嘅壓力嘅。好，咁所以咧，跟住落嚟咧，就同大家分享下喺呢啲咁嘅疫情下面咧，有3點咧，我哋係喺裏面學識咗嘅。第一點咧，我哋就發覺我哋咧要 react fast 同埋要 reflect 啊。其實我哋成日咧都喺度諗緊，我哋做嘅嘢咧係咪最能夠滿足到小朋友嘅需要，滿足到照顧者嘅需要，滿足到唔同機構需要，同埋滿足到唔同嘅 professional 嘅需要咧，所以個人要變得好彈性啦。於是你咧見到我哋由第1代去到第2代、第3代、第4代咧，都係希望 fulfill 到小朋友或者喺家庭裡面真正嘅需要，同埋咧係咪淨係喺屋企玩咧？可唔可以反應得快啲？有機會攝就可以攝喺學校玩，或者有機會攝就可以攝到喺社區玩，又或者點樣可以裝備多啲嘅人咧，以至佢可以直接好快將玩咧帶到俾小朋友咧？呢個係我哋第一係中間咧嘅一個反思嚟嘅。第2個反思咧，我哋發覺咧同伙伴嘅合作係好重要。咁你見之前我哋派 Paybox 啦，或者我哋啲 sharing session 咧，就同好多唔同嘅機構合作啦。個好處係咩咧？其實佢咧就可以去到再多啲唔同嘅 audience， 特別咧係一啲貧乏地區嘅小朋友。另外咧就係因為個遊戲盒都有限啊，其實我哋裝備老師啦或者社工咧，佢識得去改變個遊戲盒或者補充多啲料咧，咁嗰個遊戲盒咧會更加 sustain 到。咁所以伙伴咧係好能夠令到我哋想做嘅嘢咧更加長久啦，同埋更加擴大嘅。咁我哋咧又發覺其實最差嘅時間咧，亦都係最好嘅時間啦，亦都係因為咁咧激發我哋再諗多啲。咁其實我哋將會出咧係頭先係第3代分享完，我哋將會出咧係第4代嘅嘢㗎啦。第4代嘅 Paybox 會係點樣嘅咧？我哋發覺咧個家長能夠認同玩係好重要啊。咁所以咧，我哋深信咧，就算喺 New Normal 之後咧，我哋咧設計緊一啲叫 Payback 啦，因為 Paybox 有時太過唔方便攜帶啦。咁我哋估計小朋友可能有時復課啦，有時停課，咁個 Payback 咧係可以係喺學校同埋喺屋企咧帶嚟帶去嘅，甚至咧其實長假期或者已經冇咗疫情都可以做到嘅。另外咧，我哋就開始做一啲日記手冊啦，一邊咧就係俾家長，另外一邊咧就係俾小朋友。有時咧係家長提小朋友玩，有時係小朋友提家長玩，咁就可以甚至喺 New Normal 之後咧，其實都可以幫小朋友咧 build up 喺屋企或者喺學校咧有一個好 routine 玩嘅時間。咁亦都係因為through 咗呢個時間咧，我哋做咗一啲 online training， 特別係做咗一啲特殊需要小朋友嘅家長啦。咁我估佢哋而家咧越嚟越重視小朋友嘅玩啊。咁所以咧，你見到其實見到佢哋嘅轉變咧都幾開心嘅咧，就係我哋本來以前咧係叫啲家長親子咧嚟我哋度玩，而家我哋叫佢翻屋企拍片，然後咧就俾翻我哋就再俾意見。咁有啲家長為咗拍得好啲咧，就1連7日都拍。因為一次唔得就拍第2次，咁啊反而咧令到啲小朋友咧可以玩多少少時間啦。咁見到啲家長有好好嘅反思咧，就係佢話佢發覺咧原來自己唔應該局限小朋友嘅玩法啦，同埋應該放手俾小朋友玩。咁呢個對特殊需要小朋友嘅家長咧係幾難得嘅，同埋咧佢識得欣賞咗小朋友咧話發覺喺玩裏面咧佢表達多咗、互動多咗、投入性都高咗。 咁所以咧，其實呢個係有危有機啦。最差嘅時候又係最好嘅時候，反而令到個家長更加重視小朋友嘅玩，同埋佢會觀察小朋友嘅玩。好，咁跟住咧，最差嘅時候就係、你發覺呢啲家長開始重視咧，就我哋出咗一啲叫 medical play box 咧，就係介紹啲唔同即係嘅一啲醫生遊戲或者一啲醫療遊戲嘅。咁咧，我哋請啲家長你寫下小朋友玩嘅需要咧，其實咧喺 Facebook 裏面咧有超過600個嘅家長嘅反應咯。咁我哋發覺原來啲家長咧越嚟越重視小朋友嘅玩。係，咁呢個咧都難得嘅咧，就係我哋一路咧都做緊一啲叫社區共建遊樂場啦。咁以前都難揾 partner 㗎，但係去到而家咧就係好多 NGO 佢覺得好多譬如劏房裏面嘅小朋友，又或者一啲好窮嘅屋企咧，其實咧佢哋屋企喺疫情下面咧連玩嘅地方都冇，啲小朋友焗住喺屋企咧就係對住四埲牆。於是咧佢哋開始諗話將來咧疫情好啲咧，想同我哋一齊合作咧喺社區裏面咧做一啲社區共建遊樂場。咁呢個係長遠，甚至喺 New Normal 裏面咧對小朋友咧都係好嘅，對家庭咧有一個空間可以同小朋友一齊咧有個竇咧一齊玩就係好。咁所以我哋又發覺最差嘅時候又係最好嘅時候。咁我嘅分享係咁多啦。咁特別咧就係想話，以上其實好多資源咧，我哋擺晒上我哋嘅 website 㗎，包括一啲家長嘅講座啊，家長嘅親子 play idea 或者係頭先介紹嘅，咁歡迎或者洗手歌都可以喺上面揾到，咁歡迎大家可以上去下載嘅。咁我今日分享係咁多，唔該晒。